Alright, so question number 1 was, where did you get the idea for Rogue Science?
Okay, so I guess the backtrack, I'll just start where I was. Okay, in Allentown, I was kind of like, I was going to school at the time, and I wanted to make a book, just because I had that desire, and I was trying to create a character. I created a character that I called Paranoid at the time, but the character's name was in works. It was just basically about a kid who got trapped in his fears, but his fears manifested as a suit, okay? But inside the suit was like filled with worms, right? Yeah. And like the kid was like trapped like way down deep inside. And so he was this wandering like character with this like, you know, tight black kind of like liquidy leather suit that had like the zipper all the way up his head and like these bugged out eyes. But in people's shadows he could see demons that like haunted them or like their fears or whatever. Like he could see them manifest as like these monsters. And he would fight their monsters with what his superpower was, which was fear itself. So he would defeat their fears with his fears. And there was 2 particular characters, these kids, that were like the scientist type group that like found like this evidence of his fear after like certain fights or whatever, right? And needless to say, the comic never took off. I didn't get far enough into the story. But by the time that I went to do Rogue Science, I kind of started with those characters mixed with some of some of the characters that I had from Chemically Engineered, which is another title that I plan on doing eventually. I've started the book, but it's not done yet. And
wait, can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
So, if you had to lay out all the elements of what came together to create Rogue Science, what would that look like? Like, I'm starting to get this picture that I've never had before of, like, you have...
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
Character and these other characters. It sounds like you took this crew that you created and put them into... Is it like a formula?
Well, no, what happened was they were just characters, and Rogue Science really just came about from me drawing. Like, I just sat down and I said, I'm going to draw comic book pages, and I didn't give any thought to it at all. It was just an evolution, and I started with these 2 particular characters, which was Sam and T. But they didn't have names at the time. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like the funny thing is that a lot of it was an expression of like guilt that I carried from years, and I just poured it out into the book. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not that the book is referencing any of the guilt. I just use it as a way to purge this guilt that I was carrying, or whatever.
Wait, what do you mean by guilt you're carrying?
I don't know, just guilt from shit that happened from the past. I just used that energy to create what is Rogue Science.
Interesting.
You see what I'm saying? And it was just this, it was my source of strength as I was working on that project, which is why it's not a particular project that I'm totally proud of.
That brings me to like another interesting point is, you know, word around the campfire is that you didn't expect Rogue Science to be so popular amongst, you know, your friends and stuff. Like, it kind of caught on.
But I don't think that it's popular. Like, the thing is like, okay, out of Rogue Science, I've been able to, I guess, produce, 60, you know, 60, maybe like 100 hard copy issues of Zero and Ad-Lib Special combined, okay? And then I went on the web and I put a torrent for each of those issues as free, and I might have got about 200 downloads of those.
That's a lot of downloads.
You see what I'm saying? So that's only about 300 books, or 300 views from people, like period. That's all that whoever knows about it. As far as amongst my friends, I mean, I don't really know what my friends' opinions
Part of
are.
me can't help but scoff at like only 300. I mean, the movie 300 comes to mind, but I mean, just
Yeah, but I'm sure 300 the book sold a lot more than 300 copies, and how many people around the world saw the movie 300?
Yeah, but when that
So
story
I-
was first created, no one got paid.
But I'm saying, as far as amongst my friends, I mean, you know, I mean they're the only things that I've really produced other than Seed, which is still fresh, and I haven't really, you know, shown Seed to a lot of people. I mean, I only sold 6 issues of that at the con, you know what I mean? And I've given away maybe about 10, so maybe 15, and I only did a run of like 30.
True.
So it's like, you know, there hasn't been as much exposure from Seed, and Rogue Science is the only thing either in print or available to view other than that. I mean, I got the Neo G stuff, which people have read the scripts from, but that's not in print yet, and that's not even a finished work, you know?
True.
I have the blacked out scripts, you know what I mean? And the only one that's been privy to that is you, other than Pete, you know, but he helped me write it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of work that I have that people don't know about, and that's the only reason why people know about Rogue Science.
Interesting. Interesting. But see, I think that's what makes Rogue Science so appealing to so many people, is that it's a brief glimpse, like a really brief glimpse into what seems like to be a huge universe of continuity. Like your art doesn't seem, sounds cliche, it doesn't seem new. It doesn't seem like it stands alone. When you read issues 0 and the Ad-Lib special, you're like, wait, there's so much development in the characters and scenery that it just doesn't seem like it should be by itself. So people start asking you about your work, and you start talking about Neo G or Seed, and there really is this, you know, enormity of, I don't know, I feel like there's a certain amount of grandioseness that comes with Rogue Science, even though there's only so much Rogue Science as a book out there. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you feel like the work carries an amount of volume that you didn't intend for it to carry?
I mean, I will say this, is that, I mean, what came to mind is that the number 0 issue was actually the last issue that I drew in a series of like 6 issues worth of stuff. You see what I'm saying? So by that point in time, the characters had evolved in my mind
Tell me
to
more
have
about that.
had more of a relationship.
That's something people have no the fuck idea about. They have no idea that 0, I forgot about that 0 was the last of the,
And the funny thing too is that when I was drawing the pages, I didn't have a script or a story. I just made it up as I went. So when I sat down with Pete to like write it, we decided to cut it to pieces and turn it into a comedy. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is what made it work so well. Because what the serious story was in my mind versus the crap art that I was putting on the page. You see what I'm saying? When we took that approach towards it and said, how do we feel about this? That's what the script turned out to be.
Interesting.
You see what I'm saying?
So
That's why I tell people, it's not supposed to be a masterpiece.
I think you inadvertently, mistakenly made a masterpiece. I think that's, I mean, of course, that's why I'm making a fancy about it, but I think that you literally did, I think you did the impossible of Rogue Science. And then I think it's so cool that you made an issue 0 out of it. Because, like, you made up a whole, like, 6 issues, that's a mini-series. You made a mini-series about characters with no names doing what? And you fueled it with guilt. It's like, imagine if you literally took guilt and turned it into Miracle Grow and threw it on the ground, and then what happened was you grew like lettuce, like a head of lettuce, but it was actually Rogue Science. And then you took 2 pieces out and made it a sandwich, and so that's issue 0. That's essentially what you did.
You see what I'm saying?
But like, there's so much, like all of that.
But
shit
do you
happened.
see?
You tilled the ground with your emotion. You planted it. You worked it out, and you made issue 0.
Right, but I said it was fueled by guilt, right? It was fueled by remorse, right?
Yeah.
And then when it was finished, we totally made fun of every aspect of it.
Yeah.
So it's like as much as it's enjoyable to be in that universe. But do you know why I wrote it and did it that way? Because I began to realize that all the major books that exist out there, that's what writers and creators do. They force all their guilt into the bullshit, and then it makes it successful. So to me, it's a joke on the world.
True. Alright, just for flavor's sake, I'm gonna pause this. I've got some great material I can use to...
Okay. It's recording now. So, blah blah blah, we might have made a mistake. But essentially, why do you feel like everyone, I mean basically you're Jester, right? Everyone thinks you're Jester. Jester. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, I don't think everybody thinks I'm Jester, but I mean, I think people do make a comparison to the way I drew him.
Yeah. Well, I always assumed he was you. I always thought he represented you. Because, yeah, I always thought that T represented Dan.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay. I guess in the sense of the guilt, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then these characters came out that way. You know what I mean? But they weren't intended, like, Jester's not intended to be me.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Or are you comfortable being compared to Jester?
Wow. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's more likeness than it is like he himself. But like, I mean, it's a hard question to answer.
Well,
let me
ask you
in purging myself of the guilt. You see what I'm saying? I created this character like a voodoo doll kind of, or whatever you want to call it. You see what I'm saying? Maybe a sigil. You see what I'm saying? So so Jester is this character in a reality that's like a vassal for my garbage.
Like a tribute for your garbage or something. I don't know.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like a lot of the relationships. You see what I'm saying? Like
interesting.
Like a lot of these elements are just like me dumping my stuff, but you know when I had the story intention in mind, it was that these characters were somebody else in some other reality. It was never intended to be, you know, me living out my life through this character per se. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So the other question that I think has been on everyone's mind is who's Sam?
Who's Sam? Like who is she in reality?
Yeah.
I can't divulge that.
Come on, man. This is uncut. This is the real thing.
No. I can't divulge that. But I will say this much, is that I do find a strange, like sometimes like the way that her face looks, it reminds me of my aunt. And I'm like, that's really fucking weird. Right? But I had a sister who died when, you know, she had SIDS or whatever. So like, I might have been like 6 months, or no, maybe she was 6 months. I don't know. When I was a kid, before I was really consciously aware of what was going on, and it was like, you know, it wasn't really a talked about thing in my family. So like, you know, later on in life, I always kind of felt this supernatural connection to her.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Weird.
So I don't know if maybe that's who she is.
Well,
but I think there's definitely some elements of some other women in my life. You see what I'm saying? That guilt is purged upon.
Crazy.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that makes me feel bad about this next question, but you know, like she's, I guess. Well, I don't really feel that bad about it because you know.
I mean, the only thing
she's a hot character.
But think about it like this: the only thing that's weird is in the 3-part mini that I'm working on, there is an insinuation, and well, I mean, it's in the story already that Jester and Sam are already together. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
So it's like despite, but see, that's what's cool about the fact that I wrote it with Pete. You see what I'm saying? When we went back. Well, I guess it was like natural.
I'm still getting over the fact that you are working on an upcoming miniseries for Rogue Science.
Yeah.
So that would be like a special announcement for damn sure, right?
Well, I mean, to a degree. I mean, it's still part of all the artwork that I had before.
Gotcha.
It's just I'll be completing.
Oh, that's right. That totally makes sense. So I guess it's like a unofficial, but kind of it could work this way plan is to release it. Well, like, fuck, you're gonna release a miniseries. It's always been in the works, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
basically the materials.
It was always been in the works. It's just a matter of having the time.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? You know, like the thing is that Rogue. Okay, now we're getting to the other aspect. Rogue Science, and this is what I've always told people, was a project that I did while I was waiting on the other team to do other stuff, like Dan working on the pages in Neo G, what have you. You see what I'm saying? So it was like, I just took that time and did Rogue Science as a means of getting my foot into the door for the convention circuit.
That's true.
You know, it was kind of, you know, the funny thing was, for a while I was describing it as a comic book brochure for my company. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually going to ask some questions about that too. Actually, I want to stick on my list of questions here.
Okay.
So, are you aware of any X-rated material featuring Sam from Rogue Science in existence?
I mean, as far as I know, there is nothing that anybody. I mean, is this particular work that you've done?
This is just a hopeful fanboy question. No, I haven't actually produced any of that myself.
Okay.
But I was just like, you know, like, could there be in the back?
I mean, unless there's
a
a huge conspiracy. No, listen. There's a huge conspiracy around the world that doesn't allow my internet to have any connection to how much popularity in the world my work is. You see what I'm saying? Then I have no way of knowing what exists in the world about my work because I don't see anybody attracted to it.
Yeah, that's it. Quick, cut the camera! He's figured it out! Shit, I'm Werner Herzog, I'm out. Do not feed the bears. Shit. So yeah, the next question was like, this is actually kind of pandemic. Any of the material that you've put out is this mentioning of Versus System Studios. So like, I feel like anyone who has, you know, been a fan of Rogue Science has fallen into like, what the hell, like Rogue Science is technically Psionic Comics, but you have like 13th Realm and I don't know, it's like when you said it was a brochure for your company, did you mean your company not Rogue Science, your company being Psionic Comics or Versus System Studio?
Well, I mean, I guess, you know, Psionic Comics is what I'm pushing to people as far as, like, me with my works now, but, you know, stuff like Neo G and Blacked Out are going to be under 13th Realm, but see, that's kind of what I've always described to people, too, is that Rogue Science was an experiment that I decided to run with, but because 13th Realm is its standalone universe with interactive characters,
that makes sense.
Dan didn't want that in 13th Realm, so I just created Psionic Comics as a front guy for Rogue Science. You see what I'm saying?
No, I identify with that exactly because I went through a similar situation in my comicsology or whatever.
You know, but at the same time, too, it was the idea that, you know, well, if people want to, like, if I can get a company established, Psionic Comics is open, you know, realm for other creators to come in and start submitting stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, you wanted an entrepreneur, like, the way I see it, 13th Realm is kind of a home project, because, you know, basically, from what I observed from the outside, Versus System Studio is your masthead for all your artistic endeavors outside of comic books alone. And then you have little echelons within that. You know, you have your film clique, I guess, and you have, you know, like different factions of your comic books. But you work with your brothers, you know. So some of your projects are like, you know, like you see them as being like closer to home. Like you talk about Neo G and projects like that, and they have like an actual true life history in your family. So they're not just your stories in a way, right? Like, how exactly do you?
Well, what do you mean true life history in my family?
Well, I mean, you talked about it with stuff with your brothers growing up, didn't you? Like Neo G, like your
No,
ideas and whatnot. You
Neo.
guys share your ideas.
Neo G was born as a my masterpiece okay, when I went to art school after graduating college, it was the idea of like every artist has a masterpiece.
Yeah.
So my master thesis, whatever you might call it. So Neo G was my intention of my masterpiece. It's my Star Wars tribute to the world. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
But along the way, I mean, there's twists and turns in life. So, and with rises and falls with working with Dan particularly. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes he would be in it, sometimes he would be out of it. We separated several times in life, or we lived distantly apart. So it was like, 13th Realm, which was originally going to be Realm Comics, went through a whole avenue of stuff. You see what I'm saying? And it was like, that's what I'm saying. Rogue Science was kind of born from that separation. And then when we finally decided to buckle down after years, when we were men or adults, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We started putting more effort into getting back to what we originally dreamed as children. But Neo G was something that kind of came up while I was in college away from my family.
Gotcha.
They didn't really know anything about it.
Right. So
But when I did get back together with my brother, when I moved back home to my mother's for a period of time, it was my brother was living there, so that's when we really incorporated Neo G as the foundation for what 13th Realm would be, and kind of all the other characters in that universe revolve around that story.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, that it makes sense. Okay, so.
But like I said, Rogue Science, Dan didn't want that, so then that's where,
Right.
Psionic came. But see, once Psionic came, then it was like all these other ideas I had been developing along the way, like Seed, or like Sight, or like World of the Unknown.
You basically had to make all these new choices, and with that, it sort of just changed up the elements you could work with. Whenever you decided to branch out away from the responsibilities of maintaining.
Well, no. I mean, all the other ideas existed before Psionic.
Yeah, I'm sure, but I mean that like with Psionic, you could represent these ideas in new ways that you couldn't with.
Well, no, it wasn't that I could represent them in new ways. They were just projects that weren't going to be 13th Realm, and 13th Realm was the whole focus.
Right.
But once Psionic became an actual reality to say, well, hey, why don't I have 2 comic book companies?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Then I was like, wow, that means all these other ideas that I had along the way, I can just drop them in there, and they won't die. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not, I mean, all the intentions of presenting them are all the original intention.
I feel you. Well, I didn't really have any other questions I could think of prior to these, and I came up with a couple. I don't think that I have any more questions. Let's wrap for a second and see if something comes up.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask about the ad-lib special. Like, what inspires you to choose the ad-lib special?
Okay, well, I mean, I wrote this in the back of the ad-lib special, but
I could just always reread that then.
well, no, I mean, I'll just say it right now.
Okay.
In the ad-lib special, okay, because me and Pete went back over the artwork and then put a script to it.
Mm-hmm.
And like the funny thing was, it's like it was me getting together with Knights, with Pete, and it was just something fun for him to do, to hang out with his brother at the time.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Which is why we made jokes about it the whole time, and that's what became of the script of Rogue Science. You see what I'm saying? We were just making jokes the whole time. Like we even proposed the idea at one point in time, like, what if they just said stupid stuff the whole time, like, give me a hamburger, and then the other one would say like the great white whale, like, you know, he's gonna smash New York City, and then the other one would be like, you know, but cheese pizza, it's great, and, you know, if you put it into the dishwasher sometimes, like, but then I was like, well, you know, I don't want to go that far.
That would be pretty far.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it would have been funny, right? Like, imagine reading that, and that's what the dialogue would have been.
It would have been.
It would have been something different.
You know what? It would have been a real, like, ponder kind of thing. Like, what the fuck did he mean by that?
Okay, now,
Kind of.
I don't think so. I think people would have just been like, what the hell is this? Like, and they would probably got into it, like some of the ad-lib videos that they do on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, where they go back, like, the guys who do the Star Trek stuff or whatever, I can't remember what they're called, but they went back and put the funny dialogue to the Star Trek episodes.
I don't know what they call it either, like redubbing or...
No, yeah, but I'm saying there's this particular group. It's like MPG. I don't. Anyway, but the point that I'm trying to make. So Adlib Special was, okay, we did this with issue 0.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we take it one step further and give that to the readers? You see what I'm saying? Allow them to take part in what we did to create the script for Rogue Science.
Interesting.
So then I allow the readers to like cut up on my stuff even more. You see what I'm saying? If they choose to. Because there's a million ways you can read it, and I put that in the opening thing. Like, you can read this seriously. You can add any word you want.
This makes me wonder if I might have been like, no, it can't just be me. I know that I was gonna say kids, but essentially, when I look at the drawings, I know there's more to it. You know, like I didn't write in my copy, but the story I made up was serious. I didn't make jokes. I was trying to find out. Like, I looked at those pages, and I was like really like thinking about, man, how does this make sense? You know, is this in the future? Like, are they still? Where are the fucking green guys? Like, I was like, man, it kind of tore me up, honestly. I needed the structure of a story. I mean, I made some weird stuff up in my head, but I knew it wouldn't count. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, you know, I gave the copies. You know, I mean, a lot of people got them, as far as like people that I know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, but I mean, like, I was sitting there reading it, and it was like, you know.
Wouldn't that be really interesting if you could find everyone who has experienced the Adlib Special?
I mean, we thought about that, like having them write in what their stuff was and then posting it somehow.
Well, posting it, no. I mean, just for shits and giggles, find out, like, get an actual consensus what other people basically made up.
So I'll do like Jay and Silent Bob did, and like find this weird like internet readout that finds like all the people, but it would have to be a mental one because I don't think anybody's ever commented on the internet about Rogue Science.
Yeah.
So I'd have to find some weird computer that can print out what people's thoughts and ideas were, or just names of who read the comic. Yeah. And then hunt them down.
No, I think you should just do what you can, man. Go ask people you actually know that have read it.
I mean, I have.
Well, what's everyone's story? What's everyone else making up about it?
I don't know. Some people said it was hilarious.
Huh.
You know, which obviously means that they just made up some complete garbage.
Yeah. Well,
you see what I'm saying? I asked a guy who said that he read it once, or that when he read through it, we wrote it in a way that you could actually put in the actual words that are there.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So he just put in the words that were there.
Huh.
You see what I'm saying? There's other people that I know that I don't know what their reaction is, but they said, yeah, it was good. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So it's like, I have no idea. I have no idea what people did with the Adlib Special. I know that when I was reading the opening thing, it was like something multiversal base, and then I threw on a number like 500,342 BC XYZ 1500 2001.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Huh. And it was like, if you read that, you'd be like, what the fuck? You see what I'm saying? Okay, so like, you know, and then there's this one particular scene when it opens up, and it's like T's like, Sam's like, wait, did you just, and then it cuts out, and he's like, I think I did, or something like that, right? So like, we made this joke. She's like, did you just poop something? And or I don't know. I can't remember.
But at that point, I'm gonna say, this is in the interview.